Shoot Breeze topic number 7 is how are the Church of Latter day Saints or Mormons allowed to operate in any African or predominantly black country? This comes with a link. Looks like it's an odd. Damn it! Hold on. This comes with a link. I got to go back and grab it. But I never particularly cared for the Latter Day Saints. Growing up in the Caribbean, I didn't like their ideologies on black people being um, devils and all that type of thing. Of course, and yet they still came around people all the time. I didn't appreciate it.
You see
Let
him
me
a lot in
share,
Harlem.
let me share the screen with you guys so we can watch this video together. All right, so we'll watch it, then we'll discuss it.
It's just the trillions of planets scattered throughout the cosmos are ruled by countless gods who once were human like us. They say that long ago on one of these planets, to an unidentified god and one of his goddess wives, a spirit child named Elohim was conceived. This spirit child was later born to human parents who gave him a physical body. Through obedience to Mormon teaching and death and resurrection, he proved himself worthy and was elevated to godhood as his father before him. Mormons believe that Elohim is their heavenly father and that he lives with his many goddess wives on a planet near a mysterious star called Kora. Here, the God of Mormonism and his wives, through endless celestial sex, produced billions of spirit children. To decide their destiny, the head of the Mormon gods called a great heavenly council meeting. Both of Elohim's eldest sons were there, Lucifer and his brother Jesus. A plan was presented to build planet Earth, where the spirit children would be sent to take on mortal bodies and learn good from evil. Lucifer stood and made his bid for becoming savior of this new world. Wanting the glory for himself, he planned to force everyone to become gods. Opposing the idea, the Mormon Jesus suggested giving man his freedom of choice, as on other planets. The vote that followed approved the proposal of the Mormon Jesus, who would become savior of the planet Earth. Enraged, Lucifer cunningly convinced 1/3 of the spirits destined for Earth to fight with him in revolt. Thus, Lucifer became the devil and his followers the demons. Sent to this world, they would forever be denied bodies of flesh and bone. Those who remained neutral in the battle were cursed to be born with black skin. This is the Mormon explanation for the Negro race. The spirits that fought most valiantly against Lucifer would be born into Mormon families on planet Earth. These would be the lighter-skinned people, or white and delightsome, as the Book of Mormon describes them.
Wow, wow. Okay, that's the first time I've seen that visualization. That's a kind of a wow moment for me. Type 1 in the chat if you've seen that before. If you've known that Mormon creation story, that's an interesting one. And drop a fire emoji if you've been liking what the panelists have been putting out tonight on these different prompts, man. Kevin Curry, 42. How are the Church of Latter-day Saints allowed to operate in any African or predominantly black country?
Propaganda, again. You know, like I was saying, that was African country. The other, like a few months ago, I'm walking through Harlem with my friend, and these people are just walking around like, hey, would you like to come to our service today? You know, we can teach you about Jesus and all that. I'm like, not Jesus, whatever the thing. But yeah, it's like we welcome these people into our communities, thinking, you know, that, oh, look, they're very friendly, they're smiling with us. You know, they don't seem very to be harmful to us. Let's invite them in, or let's follow what they were saying, and you end up in situations like a Jim Jones, you know. But I just think that's it. They black people are so used to being, you know, kicked and being down, and then when the enemy starts smiling to you, oh, let's submit. But I'll pass here.
Real black gentleman. If you're speaking, unmute your mic, brother. All right, real black gentleman doesn't seem to be there. Gassed him up. What say you?
Yeah, it sounds like the story of Superman. I thought I'd hear like somebody flies and saves the day and they wear a cape. Like I said, you know, it's crazy. They shouldn't be in any African country, but I think black people need to learn to ignore these fairy tales. You know, you got you got these people crying, look, they kicked him off. Now he can't get Nikes, and you know they're lynching. Who cares, man? Like, you know, people are fighting over Middle Eastern fairy tales that have nothing to do with us. But hey, you know, so I think, you know, nobody should be worried about that stuff. My opinion.
Appreciate that, brother Bakari.
Hey man, you know, you should have found that video and played the one. You know, the Mormon got magic draws too. But you know what, guys? I agree. I'm glad he the only one I heard on here talk about to hell with Kanye and Kyrie. I don't just say to hell with Kyrie like I said about Kanye, but I'll just constantly argue about that. We got bigger stuff. Those Mormons shouldn't be in no African nation, shouldn't be in no black neighborhood, but we are too consumed with white people fairy tales. And I'm gonna tell you, man, they kind of aggressive. Not like they're gonna fight, they won't stop. They come knock on my door. I'm like, man, why are you here? Well, let me tell you this. I like, dude, I ain't no Mormon. I don't give a damn about Joe Smith. So I started asking those questions because I had studied not to be a Mormon. I just studied about Joseph Smith and I knew what they were. So I studied a little bit of those religions just so I can, you know, like, yeah, well, you know, what I felt the same way I studied the Jehovah's Witness. Okay, what I felt about these people that found it is absolutely true. And that's how they feel about us. And he go like, well, but let me just give you his promise. I say, dude, you won't get the hell away from my door. Joseph Smith didn't give me no promise. Well, will you take the Mormon Bible? I said, man, get the hell away from me. He put that Bible. I closed the door. I'll go back out the side about 5 minutes later. He left that Mormon Bible in front of my door like he couldn't say no. And I just threw it in the trash. This is a white guy. And they haven't been back over here. I was at the gas station one day. It was just, I think it was Gas Him Up. He was from Nigeria and he was passing out the Mormon Bible. He kind of looked like Gas Him Up. Hey, Gas, you was out there, you was in Atlanta passing out the Mormon Bible, telling people why we should be Mormon. So,
Nah, man. When I meet Mormons, I tell them I like Mormon coochie. They run away from me. I say with African accent, I say I like Mormon women. They have big booty. I need to chip me a Mormon woman. You have some for me. I like Mormon pussy. They are very good, and they run away from me.
So they got to talking about the Mormon Jesus. These are the first people I ever heard say this. I know y'all heard the argument, Jesus black. That's the Hebrew Israelites. Yahshua, Yahweh Shem, but Yahweh ben Yahweh Shah is black, right? Yahweh ben Yahweh Shah, he black. So Jesus is black. So then white people say Jesus white. Then you find some people say Middle Eastern. But the Nigerian guy who was passing out the gas him up uncle, who was passing out the Mormon Bible, was like, no, Jesus is mixed. He's black and white. I said, man, if you don't get away from me, and he had just left that Bible on the hood of my car, and I just turned around and threw it in the garbage can as hard as I could. I yield the mic.
In the chat, Trick Happy 262 says, yeah, fairy tale consumption will be solved with aggressive and national push for Africans to be Africans, embedded in the national identity and historical consciousness. It's simple just to practice. Every nation had an idea of their national identity. It seems black people continuously deviate from this, and when you're nothing, you cling to everything else. Bobby Wright says there was a program on Joseph Smith and the Mormons exposing him as a fraud and a con man. Trigabi 262 says all the Hebrew Israelites, Aboriginals, Moors, Abrahamics will go if you have a solid alternative of your own history. Otherwise, is futile to point out. Bobby Wright gives us some hearts. Let's welcome in Marcus Garvey is the way this week. Marcus Garvey is the way. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. Can't complain. Thanks for coming through. Um, so the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Why do black folks in predominantly black countries, why do we allow these people to roam our streets and attempt to indoctrinate our people?
Well, I can tell you because who allows these people in? I mean, is it our governments? Is it our other religious organizations that allow them in? And I remember one of them came. Well, a pair, because they always travel in pairs, came to my mother and offered for her to come to their church so they can find her a husband. She was like, "How fresh are they?" She thought they were rude for even suggesting it, because she's like, like, how could you just walk up to her and tell her that in an effort to get her to come to the church? But as a teenager, I was aware that the Mormons had a black heaven and a white heaven, and I was like, well, that makes no sense, because after a while, if when black people hear this, why would you want to go to their church? You know what I'm saying? Like if you go to the church, you understand that they don't consider you an equal, even under the religious pretext. Why would you want to attend? But there were always some black people that always went to go see what was going on. And my one last thing is, in terms of religion, I've always been curious, and I don't know if anybody ever thought about this. The concept of the story of a third of heaven turning its back against God, when Satan was able to get a third of them. And I always wondered, well, the angels are there; they're supposedly with God. So if a third, because a third is not a little bit of people, or a little bit of I don't know, angels, I guess. Let's call it angels. A third is not a little bit of angels. A third is a lot. So even these creatures or angels who have been with God since eternity looked at Satan and said, "Yeah, God, your story isn't adding up too well. I think Satan made a better point than you did. You know, um, what does that say about God? I mean, even even Moses, who supposedly saw God, and some of these other religious people who saw God, still turned their back on God. It makes you question this supposed God and the legitimacy, and how convincing has this God been. And if you became black because you didn't listen to a God that even God's people didn't listen to. I mean, look at David. David was a man after God's own heart, and even he turned against God. So what does that say about the God that is presented to you? That's all I have to say.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Let's go to Tanzan.
Well, for me, I saw the importance of having an explanation for everything, and sometimes, especially for strange things that you have not encountered before, and that's why you should have a dynamic, religion, as well as one that is, based on, certain kinds of stories. And for these people, they encountered a group of people that they didn't know, that were different from them, and the question was, where did these people come from, and what was our relation to them from their viewpoint. And so they made up a story that elevated themselves, and gave an explanation. It's like when those stories about why the chicken hates the hawk, why animals do what they do, all those stories that are told to children, because it's just a way of normalizing something that you see every day, or that is different and needs an explanation. It doesn't have to be true, but that explanation, even later on, it stays with you. You remember the feud that the chicken and the hawk had, and so on, and that's why it must scratch the ground. So these explanations are powerful, because it gives people a way to to relate to other people. Whereas for us, when we don't really have a narrative when it comes to other people, we may have an internal narrative when it comes to us. Oh, we're this, we're that, our history, our ancestry, and all that, but we don't have something that explains the presence of others. you have to explain other people, and if you can't do that, then either everybody is the same, or why is there difference, or is there no difference, or are we just not going to talk about it? So stories and myths bypass all those logical, and then they make things become instantly knowledgeable and acceptable. So yeah, it makes their sense for them to create such a story in which they come out looking on top. It's a shame we don't have a similar one as well. So yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you for that, Tan. I guess that leaves Bwana Hagoziki if Real Black Gentleman hasn't returned yet.
Yeah,
All right,
for
Bwana.
me, I absolutely love when they come here to propagate their message. Yeah, I enjoy it very much. Uh, they as Azuli said, they are deep in Africa and they are deep in the Caribbean. But when they knock on my door, I invite them in. I give them a cup of tea, and we get into the discussion about Joseph Smith because, you know, I I try to do as much research as possible on who these clowns allow into black countries to propagate their religious ideas. I'm thinking to myself, why would you let this kind of religion propagate in a predominantly black country when obviously they are antagonistic to black people? So I take it as an affront for the government, these clowns, to allow a religion like this in a predominantly black country. So when these and it's unfortunate because I understand these some of these people who follow these religions, in particular black people, they sincere. They don't know any better. So it's my duty to inform them about who Joseph Smith was, and then go into detail about the history of what these people actually believe. And many of these people don't know these things. Many of these people don't know these things, and it's I don't want to take their cards away, but it's my responsibility to inform the uninformed. You know what I mean? To let them know if you're gonna propagate these things, what the original founders believe about people who look like you with your big nose and your flat nose and your peasy head. You know what I mean? So it's my duty to inform them, and I want to see if they, and many of them still continue on the trade. Many of them can still continue with the philosophies and ideas, but I still have to push and inform them. Hey man, what you practicing is this. What you practicing is really this. These are what your founders actually believe in. So I want you to still stand on that. Are you still willing to stand on that? Are you still willing to stand on that? And if you are, no problem. A belief is a belief. But I just want people to be very clear on what they standing on, what they standing on, and it's no problem for me. Like I say, it's a LDS down the street for me. For me personally, I think it should be burned down to the ground. But I understand that people are caught up into belief in these high-minded, divine philosophical discussion. It is what it is. I don't judge it. What it is, what it is. But I ask the question. I asked the question. Razuli, come on, because you're trolling right now. But I asked the question and see if you were willing to stand on a theological belief or not. If you're not, then that's where we are. If you are, then that's where we are. We have to take decisions off of our spiritual beliefs, and it is where it is. But that's where I am with it.
Did I get everyone on that one? Okay. Is there any last thoughts on this discussion?
Hey, yeah, let me say this because I'm about to get off and I want to just listen again. I'm getting tired, but yeah, the Mormons. You know what, man? The Mormons should have done like the Jews wrote and added on how they was persecuted. But over here, the white folk were going to war with the Mormons. The other white folk, they were going to war with the Mormons over here, but they gave the Mormons Utah and all that shit out there. But yeah, I got a brother that's a Mormon. That's why I'm just laughing every time. He was a Mormon. I asked him, was he crazy to being a damn Mormon? But that just means that I just wanted to say that, man. I was just laughing. I say Mormon, think about my brother, but I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna listen, man. I'm probably gonna lay down though, but I'm gonna listen.
I appreciate
Thank
you
you for
coming.
letting me speak, man. Peace to everybody on the panel. Gas them up, stop running. We were supposed to get it in this week. I know you. Don't be afraid. You my brother. I ain't gonna beat you up. I'm gonna just learn you. And peace to everybody in chat.
Yes, yes. Yes, brother Bakari. We interested in seeing the business discussion tomorrow. Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna do it tomorrow at 3:30. Yes, minding our black business. Yeah, sure will. Y'all come check it out. Peace, one love.
Hey Coco, can you send me the link to this video?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 8 tonight.